Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Feel It to Heal It podcast. Welcome back to Morning Tea Live, wherever you are tuning in. I am so excited for today's episode. We are diving into all of the business and life updates. I'm a little nervous because there's so much to share and I just don't even know where to begin. But let's start with a breath. So, breathing all the way into your body and release. And again. And release. And one more. And release. Okay, first thing I want to share is that what this healing work is about is becoming your most authentic self. And even just the fact that I could just say and own the fact that, oh, I'm a little nervous to share this, and then be able to just take a breath. Imagine if we could function that way in every other area of life. Like, do you see people out in society, like at the grocery store, maybe at your job, and you're a meeting, and it's like we feel like we have to present this certain way, right? Like, oh, I have to present in this professional manner. I have to act like I have it all together. And it disconnects us from our authentic self, because then you go home and you're like telling your roommate or your partner, oh my God, I had the most stressful day. And oh my God, I was so nervous about this. But then you're presenting a certain way. So there's a fine line between just, being without holding yourself together in like a powerful way when you're in an environment where maybe you can't just like fully let loose, right? Like, totally get that. There's a time and a place for that. But it's also okay to just own how you feel at all times. Like, at all times, no matter where you are, no matter how professional, like, just own, like, I feel excited. I feel scared. I feel nervous. I feel whatever it is. Like, that's how we connect as human beings. But when we think that we have to show up on here or show up, in the corporate world or the grocery store, or whatever it is, and we have to just have our shit together, that's not real. That's not authentic. And then that pressure actually makes us have our shit less together. And it's like, what does that even mean, having our shit together, not being human? Anyway, it's like totally off topic, but I just felt the need to share that because things are vulnerable. Life is vulnerable. And when we can lean into vulnerability and lean into communicating with an open heart, it allows you to show up whole, like as all parts of you, rather than I need to present one way in this area of my life and this area in the other life, and this way with the one friend group and this way with my partner. Like, that's fucking exhausting. I've done that before. That is not your authentic self. That is your trauma. So I shared that to tie into today's topic, which really the updates that I'm going to share with you, which some of you already know because I shared it in my membership, I shared it with some clients, is really a live time example of trusting your intuition, trusting the universe, trusting God, trusting your angels, trusting your timing, trusting the process, like trusting in everything, and faith. Like, this is an episode about trust and faith and non-attachment, because we love to stay in our comfort little bubble of this attachment and this comfort zone, and this is known and this is not known, so we don't want to go near it. And then we don't get to literally flow with the waves of life and actually get to experience what the universe has in store for us. So yesterday I was having lunch with one of my healing soul sisters, and she was like, you're just quite the adventurer, aren't you? And I said, well, the old me was not, because yes, I had an aspect where I would feel safe to make big changes, but I didn't feel safe in my body. I still did it, but I did it in a way where it took me out with anxiety and addictive behaviors and all of that. Now I can do those things, but in a way that just feels so much more easeful. Like, if you guys knew what was on my to-do list and the amount of time I had to do it, you probably would be in a full-blown panic attack right now. But every time I just come back to like, okay, I feel some fear and overwhelm coming up, because overwhelm is literally just an umbrella for fear. It's all just fear. And so when you're able to get to that root and just be like, I'm feeling fear because I'm feeling fear that I won't be able to get all this done, and you just name it and you take a breath with the fear and you acknowledge that it's there, and then you just keep breathing, like literally, just like in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming. You just keep breathing and you take it literally one step at a time. So on my to-do list right now, I'm like, this isn't priority. This like is priority. This isn't priority. And I just take one thing at a time. And it's also this radical acceptance. Like I'm not getting my full, beautiful 9 hours night of sleep because I woke up the crack of ass to get shit done, because that is just the season I'm in right now. And then I intentionally make time for rest so that I'm still taking care of myself. So this is being able to handle all that life throws at you in a way that does not knock you out. And I never have been able to do this without getting dysregulated. I would have been in my addictive behaviors. I would have been in my head. I would have been second guessing everything. And the amount of change that's happening in my life right now is just so wild and so quick. And I had a reading with my friend Hannah, who does Akashic Records, and she was like, you have entered an accelerated timeline. And I was like, well, boy, do I feel that, because we went from the first half of 2024, which was completely slow, where yes, I was experiencing a lot of shedding, but like business was slow, social life was slow, everything was slow. I wasn't traveling. I was just like, boop. I was cocooning. I was grieving. I was shedding. I was terrified. I was like running away from myself, all then to come back to myself. And now I've landed on the other side. And because I've landed in this deeper level of internal safety, this deeper level of embodiment of my wisdom, of my personal power, of my internal safety, of my sovereignty, the universe is like, all right, she's ready. Let's go. All right. So 2 updates for you. One has to do with business. One has to do with personal. I'm going to start with the business one and then move on to personal. And I want to teach this through, I'm going to teach this through the lens of trust, trusting your intuition, embodiment, and action. So let's rewind a little bit. There's like so many moving parts. It's like, how do I even begin to explain any of this? But we're going to do it. So, okay. So in my business, you guys have seen that I've been launching Authenticity Unleash, my men's group Real Men Heal, my membership Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. Like you guys see what I post every day, what I'm selling, what I'm offering, what I'm sharing. And I was really tapped into Authenticity Unleash. It was the first program that I ever sold out. Like the pre-sale sold out. We have 1 spot left of the sale and just a couple spots left. Like we are almost sold out. And it's the first time in 3 years that I've ever fully sold out a program. So we are like almost there. And it was so in alignment. I was so tapped in. I feel so lit up by it. Like I'm so meant to be teaching this right now. But when I was doing my Real Men Heal launch, I was not feeling the same way. I was feeling disconnected. And I communicated to my co-leader, Anna, because we would switch off days for posting. And, we have our list of like Rachel's responsibilities, Anna's responsibilities. And I communicated to her, because we are a team, so I have to communicate openly. And we do this every launch where we're like, oh, we're feeling a little bit unmotivated today, or oh, we're feeling this way today. And I just communicated, I've been feeling really disconnected from Real Men Heal. And I don't know why, because I love it. I love helping men. I love what we've created. I love our course. I love the men that we work with. I love all of it. And so I was really sitting with, why am I feeling disconnected? And so I sat with it and I sat with it. And then exactly 2 weeks ago today, I had my healing group, and it wasn't really on my list to bring up, but I didn't really have much to process. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll bring it up. And I just told my group, I said, listen, guys, I'm feeling just disconnected from Real Men Heal. And my mentor said, well, do you want to do it? And I was like, well, yeah, like, of course I want to do it. It's Real Men Heal. It's like part of my business. It's what I built. It's all the things. And when we started kind of digging in deeper and deeper and deeper, and some of the other women in the group were reflecting back just kind of how they have felt that I've been disconnected from the content. They haven't really been enjoying the content because they could feel that my heart's not in it. And I was like, yeah, it feels like when I go on Rachel Kelly Coaching to create content, it feels there's just this natural flow that comes out. And with Real Men Heal content, I was just feeling like I was just checking it off the list and forcing it. So they started reflecting this back to me, and I had all of this resistance and emotion come up. Like all the things that my intuition was kind of slowly communicating and building up and building up and building up really came out 2 weeks ago in this group. And I had all of this fear come up, all of this grief, all of this sadness, just deep pain. Like it was just this pain of truth. And as I teach you guys, there's two different types of resistance. There's the resistance where something's actually not in alignment and you have to lead to the truth of that. Then there's resistance of something is in alignment, but I'm feeling scared and I need to move through the fear to then get to truth, which is it is in alignment. And so I was really sitting with what kind of resistance is this? Because I know myself so well at this point, and I know that when I avoid something, I know that either there's fear again because something's in alignment and I'm just not taking the action because I'm scared, or I know there's resistance because I'm avoiding truth because there's a change that comes with that truth. And so that's the type of resistance that was showing up, was that I had realized in my body that this launch was actually not in alignment anymore. And it felt crazy because I was like, logically, I'm so passionate about this work. I have such a huge mission to help men in this world. I also have a huge mission to help women. I also have a huge mission to help all genders. I have a huge mission to help every single human. And so I think that's what I was experiencing, was that when Anna and I first created Real Men Heal, it felt like this extension of my business. It felt like part of my business because it was, I had my women's group and my men's group and my other programs for everyone. And it felt like this integrated part of my business. And then when we built the podcast, and then we started the membership, and then we talked about retreats, and then we talked about doing a freebie, it then became its own separate entity where I had already done all of that for Rachel Kelly Coaching. I had created my freebies. I'm doing my podcast. I have my groups. I have my programs. I have my membership. Like I have all of that. So it started to feel like I was doing twice of everything and working harder, not smarter. And again, it was different when it was just a group because it felt more integrated. And then it was like, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Like we're going to go all in on Real Men Heal. And so it really started feeling like a separate business, and like I was really building two separate businesses. Now, what happens when you care so deeply about both businesses and they're going like this, they're going like this, but you know that if you put all your effort into one, it would go like this, right? And so I had to get really honest with myself of spreading myself too thin, not giving either one my all, my full attention, because I was splitting and kind of straddling both sides and both businesses. And it really wasn't sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. I'm a generator. I'm supposed to be focused on mastering one craft. I'm not a manifesting generator, which is multi-passion, multi-project, multi things. Like, yes, I do that within my own business. I have podcasts, I have courses, I have one-on-one, but it's all on the umbrella of me. Whereas this is me and someone else and growing that. And so for many, many reasons that I won't go into all of them, it is just not in alignment anymore. And so we don't exactly know what that looks like. So this was a Wednesday. I had a lot of protectors come up on Thursday, which was like this feeling of overthinking, and like I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was like it was in my face and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was trying to convince myself, I was trying to ignore it, like all these protectors. And I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to have a hard conversation. I don't want to do it, but this is what being non-attached is not holding on to things just because they feel safe or because they're so good. I was telling one of my clients that so often we hold on to things, or we wait until things are so bad, the job, the relationship, the car, to then upgrade ourselves. That's survival mode. Survival mode is like, I'm used to hitting rock bottom, so I'm just going to wait until I hit rock bottom in any area of my life to then make a change. Safety, connection, expansion mode is, I know I don't need to hit rock bottom. I can have beautiful options. I can have this amazing men's group that I run, or I can let it shift and evolve into me helping men in a different way that's meant to happen. So for example, in my medium session, she was saying that my mom was saying that she really sees me working more with couples. And if you guys remember, I did start working with a couple client, and it really reignited my love for working with couples. And so my mom was saying, like, I see you doing retreats with couples. I see you doing a group. Before I even said anything about Real Men Heal, my mom from the heavens spoke through this medium and said, I see you doing a similar format as you have for Real Men Heal. And this is like a building block from Real Men Heal, is doing it like this. So the medium was like, it's not replacing Real Men Heal, it's adding to it, but in a more aligned way. So this was on a Thursday. And then I was like telling my, one of my group members who I do healing work with, I was like, maybe I'll just take a few weeks because I'm an emotional authority. I'm supposed to ride out the wave until I reach clarity. And she was like, what are you waiting a few weeks for? Like, you sound so clear. And I was like, fuck, I know. I sound so clear. And I was just fucking terrified. So I ended up having the conversation with Anna on Friday. It was the most beautiful conversation, like literally so connected, so open-hearted. We both shed some tears. We both agreed it was the right decision because we need to focus on our own businesses. It would be different if neither of us had that and then Real Men Heal was like our main business. So right now we're just allowing it to unfold. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know, maybe we'll still have the course, or maybe, she'll do her own men's group, or I'll do my own men's group later down the road. Like who knows? We don't know. We don't know exactly what it's meant to turn into, but we know that our mission hasn't changed. We know that we love working with men. Like none of that is changing. It's just changing shape and form in terms of, what each of us are going to be offering, and also not attaching to the safety of each other, because that was a big thing, is like we each individually wanted to do men's work, but we were kind of scared, and we were like, okay, we're going to do it together. And we grew a lot together. It ran its course. And then it was like, okay, we've gotten each other to a place where we are now feeling ready and safe, or at least the universe thinks we are, to kind of fly out on our own, still support each other, but just do it in a way that feels more in alignment with where we're both at in our own respective businesses. And these are the types of decision that feel crazy. Like, why would you stop something that has been so good and so fun and like so rewarding? And these types of decisions are not always logical. They are intuitive, they are spiritual, they are just knowing that you are being guided, and you're not supposed to know why. You're not supposed to know why these things happen the way they do. You're supposed to trust that there's something even better, more aligned. And again, it's like, trying to think of an analogy. It's like, okay, you have an ice cream cone and it's so good, but someone's like, oh, I found a better flavor. And you're like, well, no, I don't want to try that better flavor because I found the thing I like. It's like, what when you're out of survival mode, when you just get to choose between beautiful options, like continuing Real Men Heal, beautiful option, not continuing, also beautiful option. And then the second thing that I will share, which I'm about to go into, that also is a prime example of beautiful option versus beautiful option. And that is a whole other way of experiencing life. Is not, I used to always wait until I was miserable in the relationship, miserable in the job, miserable in the car, miserable in the thing, to then make a change. Now I don't actually feel miserable at all. I feel amazing. And then because I feel safe in my body, I'm just now listening to my intuition more. And it's like, rather than waiting for my intuition to scream at me, I just allow it to speak. And then I'm like, okay, I don't actually need to wait for it to scream. I now have the internal safety to listen and move, listen and move, listen and move. We move first. So the intuition is almost like the universe whispering in our ear. We then have to move with that. And then the universe rewards courage and shows why it had to go the way it had to go. So with that being said, that is the business change that is happening in my life right now. Again, we are deep in the unknown. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we are no longer moving forward with this 4th round of Real Men Heal, which is very bittersweet for both of us. We've had a lot of grief around it, a lot of just like, are we sure this is the right decision? But we are trusting that it is. and that we are just going to see how it unfolds. And I'm really excited for the space that this is going to open up to more fully dive into Rachel Kelly coaching. And I am here to serve everyone. Like, this is not a business where I'm like, I'm a women's coach. And I think that's really what was happening for me, was because it was feeling more integrated. And then it started feeling like this separate thing for men, which, again, if you look at our society, men and women have been conditioned so differently that, like, it makes sense why women would need some specific support and men would need some specific support. But what I'm trying to do with this earth and my mission on this planet is to lessen that divide and integrate us all as humans. And so at the end of the day, yes, I can work with men specifically on their conditioning, and I'm aware of what that is, and same with women. But at the end of the day, we're all humans who have trauma. And that's what I'm here to help you with. No matter what gender, no matter what race, no matter what age, like, I am here to help the humans. Like, I don't believe in niching down of like, I have to work with females ages 18 to 20. Like, I don't believe in that. That's not in alignment for me. What's in alignment is to help the humans who want to rewire their nervous system out of survival mode. So by letting go of that in its current form, allowing it to integrate in my business is actually going to allow me to be living out my mission in a more aligned way, which is so cool, because when we let go of what we think it should look like, we then allow for the actual desire, which is to help men, to help humans, to help us spread this work, because men so desperately need it and we all desperately need it. It's going to allow me to live out my purpose in such a more integrated, wholesome, effective, purposeful way. And that's really the whole point. So you can apply this example to literally anything that you might be holding on to and being like, well, if I want to do this, it needs to be this way. And it's like, well, anchor to your desire. My desire is I want to help men, and I also want to help women. I also want to help everyone. And so if that's my anchor of desire, then rather than needing to go to this anchor this way, can I allow this anchor to look a little bit differently and for it to look another way that maybe I haven't even thought of? Like, Anna and I had such a vision, a long-term vision. And I also could feel there was some resistance when we started the podcast, when we started the membership, because it was like, oh, we're building, but also like I'm over here building, and I could feel that, but I was like, okay, but it does feel in alignment. And it was this balance of like, maybe I wasn't fully listening to myself, but I was also still getting clear. And sometimes we need to experience something to be able to feel clear on it. And we have to trust when things run their course. Business, relationships. How many of you are holding on to relationships that actually are not helping you grow? Relationships are teachers, they are catalysts for growth. And the second you stop growing in a relationship, the relationship has run its course. And you say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being my teacher. Thank you for this relationship. It has served me so well. It's the same thing with friendships, with clients, with anyone in your life. If you are not growing with people, and of course, it's like there are going to be people in your life, like family members, where they don't grow, but you still have a relationship with them, right? It's not this all or nothing thing, but it's being so intentional about, you choose one partner in life if you are monogamous, and that person gets to be with you, like you who's this amazing, special, unique you. And rather than just letting anyone be with you, it's like you get to make that such an intentional choice of, oh, I'm good on my own, but this person, this business offer, this whatever the thing is going to just add to the growth. And that's how you know you're out of survival mode, when you're not making decisions from this feels safe and comfortable to this is going to add to my growth, to my expansion. I desire this. I don't actually need it. And that's why I'm single, because I was not ready for a relationship. And this brings me into announcement number 2. No, I'm not dating. That is not the announcement. Some of you have guessed that. They're like, have you found love? No. But the next announcement is actually going to lead to that other topic. So that was my first business Real Men Heal announcement. Stay tuned on how that evolves. And then the second personal announcement, I can't believe I'm even saying this because it's like, I just said this a year ago, is that I am moving out of San Diego, which I never thought I would say because I fucking love San Diego. Like, you guys know that I am obsessed with San Diego. I talk about it every day, how much I love San Diego. I am moving north to Orange County in Newport Beach, which again, would never ever imagine that I would even entertain that idea, because from what I hear, I don't really know Newport that well, but from what I hear, Newport people are different than San Diego people. They have different values than I have. And I don't really think my people are there. And yet I am literally being forced to move there by the gods. So, so, and the reason why I said it has to do with the love example is that I am pretty sure that I am being guided to move there for two reasons. One of which is that I believe my husband is in Newport Beach waiting to meet me, and I am being guided there to meet him. So first it was my dad that said that. Second was my mentor. Third was who was it yesterday? Someone said it yesterday. Oh yeah, my friend who I had lunch with, she was like, I think you're gonna meet someone there. And I was like, yep, you're like the third, fourth, fifth person to say that. So everyone is convinced that I am meeting my husband in Newport Beach. Now, it's interesting because match number 4 loves Newport, was the one that told me about Newport, said that he wants to retire in Newport. So then I had this thought, like, is my time with him not up and we're supposed to reunite in Newport? But then I was like, I don't know if he's my person. I think maybe there's someone else. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. It's very exciting to not know because we get to just find out and it's either this or something better. I would be surprised if he were my person, but also we just don't know. So the point is I am being guided there against my own desire. I've never woken up and was like, I cannot wait to move out of San Diego and to Orange County. I cannot wait to move again, even though I just fucking moved last year and I always stay places like at least 2 years. But the universe had been very clear with me and was screaming at me, and I had to listen. So I'm moving at the end of this month. I am first traveling on Friday for a week, coming back, and then moving the week I get back. So it's a little bit of an insane September, but it's also really exciting. So the context for this is that last Sunday, September 1st. So what day is it? It's the 11th. So 11 days ago. So over last Sunday. So 2 Sundays ago, I got a voicemail from an apartment company that I had toured with last year. And they said, hey, Rachel, it's been a year. We're just wondering if you're looking for a place again. Now, I understand on their end, they probably have a system where it's like set up, you know, every year, people who call check in to see if they are moving. But it felt a little random because I'm like, I haven't talked to you guys literally since I toured that apartment a year ago. And I was like, huh. And I looked them up and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this place. And I was like, wait, I really like them. Why didn't I move there? And I remembered because they have locations all over California, that the location that is in the town that I'm currently in, I didn't like that location. So that's why I chose this place instead. And I really wanted a 2-bedroom and it was more in my budget and all the things. So I end up here and I then was like, okay, like I remember this place, whatever. I think I took a nap. I woke up, or no, I think before the nap, I started looking around and I saw that they had a location in Newport Beach. And I was like, oh, it's probably so expensive because Newport's expensive. So I click on it just for shits and giggles. And sure enough, there were apartments that were cheaper than where I'm at now, about the same price and also more expensive. So they had all these different price ranges. And I was like, why are you looking at apartments? You just moved. Don't be crazy. Just stop. So I was like, I'm probably just overtired because I can get crazy when I'm overtired. So I took a nap. I wake up to an email from my property manager saying in the subject line, 30-day notice. My heart jumps and I immediately think that I'm being kicked out in 30 days because the past two apartments that I've been in San Diego, I moved right before we actually were going to get kicked out. So I actually had a reason my body reacted that way. Um, the first apartment, it was being sold. So both apartments in Ocean Beach that I lived in were managed by the same owner. He was selling all of his properties on that side of town. So I moved to the other side of town, and this other management company bought out the property. They then raised the rent. I probably could have stayed there, but for the amount of rent, it was a small, tiny one bedroom. Like, no, if you guys remember my first apartment, like it was not worth that. I found my second apartment that was cheaper, and then ended up the rent being raised to what I was going to pay for that small space for a much bigger one bedroom. And then right after I moved from my last apartment, the building got sold. They actually kicked everyone out. They turned it all into Airbnbs. And my neighbor texted me and was like, you moved out just in time. They just kicked us all out. And I was like, wow, the first apartment, they at least gave you the option of staying. This one, they just fucking kicked you out. So I have that experience with apartments. So as soon as it was like 30-day notice, I was like, oh my God, again, like, are they selling the building? Are they turning into Airbnbs? What's happening? San Diego, it's crazy. So then I see 30-day notice of rent increase. So they were just notifying me that my rent was going up $100 per month. So I was like, oh, okay. So, not great. Would have been better if it was like 50, whatever, but it was $100 a month, whatever, not a huge deal. So after that, I see on the bottom of the email, it says, please let us know if you're not staying by September 1st, which was that day, September 1st. And because I had moved into this apartment, which, remind you, was a dream manifestation come true. You guys know I talk about this apartment all the time. The fireplace, the patio, the in-unit laundry, the dishwasher, the high ceilings, the light, the quiet neighborhood, the nature, the birds chirping. There's so much I love about this apartment. It literally was a dream come true. It was a manifestation come true. That because I moved in October 7th, I thought I had more time, and I forgot that I had signed my lease September 30th. So that would be 30 days notice, but I totally thought I had more time. And again, I was not even thinking about moving. So why would I think about giving myself ample time to look for a new place if I had 0% plans of moving? Now, backtrack a few months ago, I had a client that paid in full for a year. So I was receiving a large payment, and I had a meeting with my accountant, and she was like, I want you to pay for rent 6 months in advance, because she knows that my rent has been a stressor because it's the most amount I've ever paid in an apartment. So it's really stretching me financially, nervous system wise, all the things. And she was like, I know that it's going to give you so much peace of mind to just pay 6 months up front, that you're going to stay for another year, like just get it done. So I emailed my property manager, wanted to send it to her. She said, we don't do that, but I will double check. And I was like, okay. And so I followed up. Did you double check? She never got back to me. I took that as a sign that I was not meant to do that. It happened to come up in conversation with my dad. I normally don't talk to my dad about stuff like that, but I think we were just celebrating the painful for a year, and he was like, oh, like you have all, this big chunk of money coming in. And I was like, yeah, like I'm so excited. I'm going to do this and this. And so I mentioned the idea, and he was like, no, don't do that. And he was like, Rachel, what if you find a place? And I was like, Dad, you're crazy. I just moved. I'm not going to find a place. I'm not looking for anywhere. Case in point, when we don't look and chase and force, that is when we attract what we actually desire without even knowing we desire it, beyond what we desire. So I desired this place. I actively looked for this place. And now the universe wants to send me an upgrade without me even desiring it, or like wanting it, or like searching for it. So he said, you never know. Do not give them this 6 months of rent. What if an amazing apartment comes up? And I thought he was crazy. I was like, Dad, I'm not moving again. I refuse to move again. I'm exhausted from moving from the last time. And he was like, trust me, just put it in a, high yield savings account, and you will thank me later. Well, my dad isn't always right about this stuff, but in this case, he was right. So shout out to you, Dad, if you're listening to this, because sometimes he listens. He was totally right. And I'm so glad I listened to him. because after I got that email, I was like, okay, well, it's September 1st. I don't have time to look for a new place. They need 30 days notice. And I just started looking at the Newport Beach location. I was like, if I'm going to move again, I'm not moving within San Diego. I've really covered all the areas of San Diego I've always wanted to move, which was Ocean Beach and now North County, where I'm in between two of my favorite towns. And I was like, even though I'm not in my favorite town, I still have experienced enough. But I was like, but like, does it feel complete? Do I want more time there? I don't live in the town, so it's not like I'm there all the time experiencing it. And I'm like, I think it's complete. I don't think there's anything left for me to experience here. I think my growth here is done. I think I've outgrown San Diego, which is so fucking weird because it was my dream for so many years. And if you listen to the way I'm talking about this, I'm going to point out two sneaky things of attachment. Me saying, oh, but I always live somewhere at least 2 years. That's attaching on to amount of time, right? So if my body knows you live in places for X amount of years, that's my body trying to know. That's attaching on to the known because the nervous system wants to prevent the unknown. So that's sneaky attachment, number one. Number two is San Diego. Attaching on to San Diego is like, but this was my dream and I've only lived here 5 years. I could live here forever. It's not allowing natural things to evolve and trusting that, especially with the 9/9 portal that just happened, that is complete. So speaking of 9/9, so I'm looking at, online, this was September 1st, the Newport Beach location, and I just felt this intuitive pull, go drive to Newport Beach. And it was under an hour. That now keep in mind, this was a day that I was supposed to be working on my book, which is due this week. And so I was convinced that I was being crazy. I was convinced that I was just self-sabotaging. I was convinced that I was just avoiding myself, avoiding the book, avoiding something. But I was like, I just need to go to Newport Beach. So I drove the hour to Newport. I toured. So on the drive there, I saw 444, which is my angel number. I see 999, which I Googled, and it says new beginnings, cycle complete. I then go and tour this apartment. It was, I think, the only one available. Wait, let me see if this is correct. Yes, it was the only one bedroom that was open to tour. I toured it. I loved it, but I still convinced myself I didn't love it. I was like, I brought the dogs and I was like, guys, you like this? You like our home better, right? We have a much beautiful home. Like our home is 2 bedrooms. It has more light. This is 1 bedroom. It doesn't have as many windows. I was just convincing myself. I was like, I don't like it. I like it, but I don't love it. So no, it's not happening. And then I started touring around. It's this beautiful gated community, which again, talk about attachment. I've always attached this idea that I'm not one of those people who enjoys gated communities. I don't like cookie cutter apartments. I've always gone for more of like the old school, charming, unique vibes of an apartment. I don't go for like the ones with all the amenities or the modern stainless steel. Well, apparently I do because the fucking pool, just gorgeous, like resort style pool, resort style gym, literally feels like you're on vacation. They have a dog park. I'm walking around and I'm just like, wow, this is beautiful. And I did not have that reaction when I went to see the location last year in this location, but specifically my body said, go to the Newport location. And in this Newport location, I walk in and I was like, oh, fuck, this is really nice. I really like it. I talked to some of the people there and they were like, we really love it. It feels like community. Now, keep in mind, 2024 has been the most alone year. I was going to say loneliness. It was lonely and then it wasn't lonely. It went from lonely to then deeper self-connection, as it tends to do when we actually look at the root of loneliness and what that's asking for, which is deeper self-connection. And now the universe is like, you're ready for more community. So this is like going from having so much space with no neighbors above me, to the side of me, below me, like I am spread out, I am so alone here, to, and I live in a very like married with kids vibe neighborhood. Like it literally feels like if you plopped me into a random child's childhood neighborhood where they grow up, like this is that neighborhood. So that part, the location wise, never really clicked. But this is literally a community. It's like a gated community. So I'm walking around, blah, blah, blah. And I see on the other side, they have a restaurant, a shopping center with a restaurant called Flower Child. Now, that same week, I had the medium session connecting with my mom, and the medium says, was your mom like a flower child in the 60s, like hippie, growing up in the 60s, all the thing? And I was like, yeah, like I would definitely describe her as a flower child. And then my client and I were talking about how she always calls herself a flower child. So, and then the reel that's trending right now, the audio is flower child. So flower child has been all around. I look across the street and it's Flower Child, which actually is a restaurant that a former friend who I'm no longer friends with, she introduced me to. So it was kind of this full circle of like me even changing the association from this friend who is not in alignment to this association with my mom. So it was kind of like healing in that way too. So that was another sign. And then I'm driving home. I stop at my friend's and I tell her, I'm like, listen, the new me doesn't rush decisions. The new me is not impulsive. That's my trauma. My trauma is impulsive. My trauma makes me make decisions. The new grounded me is I wait things out. I ride the wave. I don't get impulsive. And so I told her, I was like, I'm fully convinced I'm just somehow in a trauma response right now. But I knew that I felt grounded. This was the wildest part. This was where the self-trust really landed in my body in a whole other way. It was like, when I'm actually in a trauma response, I'm convincing myself that I'm okay. When I'm not in a trauma response, because I'm still learning to feel the safety of actually making grounded, bold, brave decisions without actually being in a trauma response, I'm then convincing myself I must be in a trauma response. So that was another sign. So we're at dinner, we're talking about it, and she was like, well, I don't want you to move, but maybe just sit with it. And we're like, yeah. But I'm clearly lit up. I'm like showing her pictures. I'm so excited. And then I was like, I feel crazy. And so we're saying goodbye. And I was like, okay, I'll see you soon. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go home and do this. And I was like, or maybe I'll be signing a lease. Who knows? And we both started laughing. And so I go home and I was like, okay, the other part of the story that you guys have to know is that 2 Wednesdays ago, when I had that group, and my mentor chimed in a little bit. She really was just like, well, what feels in alignment for you? But she really didn't chime in because she knew it had to come from me. The next day, she flew to Hawaii where she was going to be off. So we weren't going to have we have one Voxer day a week. We weren't going to have Voxer for 2 weeks in a row. The timing was so fucking kismet because the universe literally orchestrated this way. Mentor, who I use as my mirror of, am I being a psychopath? Am I being crazy? I shouldn't say psychopath. That's actually not that. We don't want to perpetuate stigma around that, which if you guys have not read the book Sociopath, that just reminded me because she talks about psychopathy and sociopathy. Anyway, so I felt like I was being crazy in like the Delulu way. We'll just say that. So she's going to Hawaii. I don't have my mirror anymore. And the universe then brings in two of these massive decisions. Now, yeah, she knew that I was thinking about not moving forward with Real Men Heal, but I didn't actually get to like one-on-one fully process, like, am I going to do this? It was more just like the seeds were planted. So I ended up using one of my friends in the healing group as a mirror. And again, she just gave me that reflection of like, you sound grounded, you can trust yourself. And it was funny because then with this moving decision, she's my mentor's co-coach. So they were in communication, and she actually had told my coach, like, yeah, she's thinking about this. Am I missing anything? She wanted to make sure that she was a clear mirror for me. So this whole time I'm like, oh my God, like I was going to come back from vacation and literally be like, Rachel, what are you doing? Because keep in mind, the week before this, I was self-sabotaging. I was downloading Hinge. I was distracting with my neighbor. I was like, me and the neighbors, Jesus, like what is going on there? But I could feel the difference between when I was running away from myself because I was scared of all the expansion and the abundance versus this. It felt completely different in my body, but I was still convinced that after we had just gone through a whole talk about that, where I wrote on my mirror, don't do dumb shit. I was like, okay, Yara's gone. You're doing dumb shit. You need to ground. Like, I was literally telling myself this. It's so funny looking back, because I like knew that it wasn't dumb shit. I knew it was my intuition, but I was so scared to trust myself. So I was like, it's dumb shit. Go back to your post-it. Remind yourself this is dumb shit. So anyway, I fully just let the idea go. And I was like, you're being crazy. Don't do anything. So I just refocus. I accept that I am not moving to this place. I tell my landlady, like, yes, I would love to accept that complimentary carpet cleaning that comes with renewing my lease. Yes, please, let's schedule with Javier to come clean the carpet. So I'm like fully convincing myself that I am staying here. So, okay, so that was Sunday. I come back Monday. The story's all over the fucking place, but I hope you guys are following and enjoying it. Monday, I go to the gym and I'm again fully convinced, fully in acceptance, loving my gym, loving the area, just fully convincing myself that I want to stay here another year. I park in front of 111, which also has to do with new beginnings, trusting yourself, intuition, all the things. And then I go, when I see that, I'm like, huh, the universe is communicating with me again. What's going on? I go to my GPS and the address for the new place was still plugged in from the day before. And literally without even searching for it, it comes up and it says 1 hour and 11 minutes to your destination, 111. So I saw 111 twice within literally a span of 2 minutes. And I was like, universe, what's going on here? And I go and I'm still convinced. And I'm like, nope, don't do anything stupid, Rachel. Don't do anything stupid. I go, I do my workout. I act like everything's normal. It's fine. So then that's Monday. I live life. I work on my book. That's Tuesday. And then Wednesday comes around. Oh, no, Tuesday, I meet my friend for lunch. This is another woman who is in my healing group. So she knows how my trauma can show up. This is the benefit of group healing, is you get to know each other's trauma and how it shows up. So she was like, well, yeah, you just moved. So you probably don't want to move again unless it's really worth it. Like, unless you can find a cheaper rent. So of course my brain goes to, okay, well, let's see if we can get cheaper rent, because again, I'm paying a lot of rent. If I'm going to pay it for another whole year, I really want to make sure that, you know, my whole theme this year has been learning to be intentional with my money. I want to make sure that I really love where I live and that it's really worth the money. So I'm like, what if I could find cheaper rent? Then I could justify moving, because that's me trying to justify, because that's what I actually wanted, even though I thought I didn't want it. See how we're so sneaky. We try and justify. Well, I can justify moving if I can lower the cost. So she was like, yeah, she knows a lot about money. She's a money coach. So she was like telling me, you can negotiate rent. I was like, you can negotiate rent? Why the fuck haven't I been doing that? I didn't know you can negotiate rent. The shit that we did not learn in school. So I was like, great, I'm going to email them and I'm going to make an offer. And I'm going to say, if you accept this rate, I would love to move in. If not, then not. And I told God, this is my sign. I clearly communicated to God, God, if you want me to move to the land of Botox, Newport Beach, you are going to, and I'm not saying that to judge you. It's just funny because that's not me. People ask if I have Botox. I don't have Botox. Anyway, so I was like, if you want me to move, it's going to be a clear, undeniable, yes, we're going to give you cheaper rent. It's going to be so worth the cost, the time, and the energy of moving again. And that's my sign. The next morning, I get an email. No, we do not negotiate rent. So I was like, okay, that's my sign. Thank you, God. Thank you for being clear. That is my sign. I'm not moving. And I'm in the grocery store and I get in my car and I see the email and I very calmly just start crying. And I was like, why the fuck am I crying? And it wasn't this dysregulated, scared cry. It was like a sad cry. It was like telling me that I actually wanted the answer to be yes. And I'm a generator. So my sacral needs to respond to what is lit up. So it's like, do you want Mexican food for dinner or Italian? And then you see what it lights up. Okay. Do you want this Newport Beach option or this? And so the fact that it was saying, no, we're not going to raise your rent, which I had attached the meaning of, I just made that shit up because I was so desperately trying to find a sign, even though literally the universe was screaming all the signs. Patty said it's the land of Disneyland. Yes, Disney is close, 18 minutes without traffic, 45 minutes with traffic. Land of Botox would be Beverly Hills. Yes, but also there are parts of Newport where, yes, it is the Real Housewives kind of scene. So there's definitely some of that. Everyone's been warning me about that. They're like, you in Newport? And I was like, huh, interesting. Anyway, it's like if San Diego and LA had a baby, apparently. That's what it's like. But anywho, so this sadness was communicating that I actually wanted it. And so again, an example of it should look this way. It should look like this clear, justifiable thing of, yes, I'm going there because it's lower rent. But Newport is like Beverly Hills near the ocean. Yeah, there we go. So it's like, it's the universe asking me to trust myself without it being this like big, obvious, like easy thing. Because if it cut down my rent, yes, that would be nice, but that actually wouldn't be helping me stretch my nervous. It would kind of be going backwards, right? Of like my nervous system has adjusted to this rent, and then I'm trying to go backwards rather than getting my nervous system to feel safe to hold more abundance so that I could easily afford the rent. So that's actually not what I desire. I don't actually desire, see, this goes back to universe giving us what we need to get to what we want. If you're saying you're someone that wants to make more money, but then I'm saying I want cheaper rent, well, having cheaper rent may feel nice in the temporary, but it's not actually going to give me what I want, which is the capacity for my nervous system to hold larger and larger amounts of abundance, right? Because if I can't hold this rent, how am I going to have my oceanfront home, which ultimately is my dream to have a house on the ocean. So this is the universe giving me what I need to get to what I want. So this sadness was information. And I was like, okay, clearly this is showing me how badly I wanted it, because if I got that email and I felt relieved, then I would be like, okay, it's not meant to be. So I go home and still trying to oh, my Instagram disconnected. Are we back? Okay, I think we're back. So if I had gotten really it would have communicated, my body would have been communicating then, okay, that's not in alignment. So I come home and I'm like, well, they have other properties in Newport Beach, not just that one. So what if I can find cheaper rent in the other properties? So again, me still trying to force the cheaper rent thing to justify to myself rather than fucking trusting that I can just move, even when it seems illogical, even when there's no amazing reason other than my intuition says that this is the right thing that's in alignment. So I go, I view 4 other of their properties, which was another reason why I was like, no, it's not the right time, because, I want to be able to explore their other properties. So the universe was like, okay, go explore. So I take the dogs, and this was like right before the heat wave. It was already so hot. We're like going through all these different properties, and each one I was like, nope, nope, nope. It was not in alignment. No, 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 no. None of them lit my sacral up. Nope, nope, nope. I then save the original one for last. I go in, and on the drive there, I was like, God, please, I know you've given me so many signs, but please just give me more signs. I see 999 again. I see a U-Haul truck pass right by me. The universe is giving me so many signs. I then go back into the original one. And as soon as I walk in, or no, wait, did I see another one first? No. I did see this one first. As soon as I walk in, I just knew. I was like, okay, my gut is loud enough. I can hear it clearly. I feel calm. It was like the energy shifted where I just I wasn't even that space of overthinking it anymore. I was just like, I need to apply for this apartment right now, the same one that I originally went to. And then they had one other one for me to view that was not a fuck yes. It was kind of smelly. It was double the price. It was a no. So the other part of this was that this is very different than like my OB apartments, where the landlady was like a local who, you could barely reach, and they had no rules or regulations. This place has pet rent and pet deposits. Now I understand a pet deposit, right? Your dog fucks up the apartment. They want to have some security on that. I understand that. But pet rent, fucking scam. I fully believe it's a scam. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Can my dog go out and work and make money? No. So how the fuck should my dog be able to pay rent? I think that's the dumbest shit on earth. So that literally was my non-negotiable. I was like, I am not paying pet rent. So before, during the week, I had emailed because I asked them, I said, well, I have, Stella registered as an emotional support dog. I have an ID card. They said, we don't accept those, obviously, because everyone could just fucking Google emotional support and you just order one online. And they said, we require a letter from a therapist or a doctor. Now, my mentor is not a licensed therapist, so she can't write me a letter. So I was like, I saw this doctor once. She's my new primary care, who I literally have only seen once, and who, now that I'm moving, I will probably never see again. So this doctor that has met me one time, I was like, okay, I'll just email her. I'm just gathering information. We'll just see if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I asked her, I said, do you do those letters, like the ESA letters? And she's like, literally without even responding, not asking me any questions about, what do they support me with? Nothing. She just says, hi, Rachel. This is the very next morning that I asked for it. Hi, Rachel, please see your attached letter. I was in tears laughing. She made up all this shit. I'm on Rachel's care team. She has, depression. She has anxiety. She has all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, please let her animals live there. And I'm like, wow, okay. Didn't even ask me. Like, if she asked me what are my emotional support animals for, I would have told her. I literally would have told her, like, I got Stella after my mom died and she really helped me with my grief. Yes, animals are emotional support. I fully believe that. And I do believe that it is our society being in survival mode that you have to have the level of what's called disability or being so unwell that that's the only way that you can have emotional support. Shouldn't we also reinforce us being well and then having emotional support to maintain that wellness? Right? It's just one of those examples, one of many, many examples that our society reinforces placating and catering to survival mode rather than being like, oh, if I actually were really in that rough of a spot, rather than emotional support dogs, like, yes, that's helpful, but also like we want to get to the root of that. And that's what I was telling myself. I was like, listen, I at one point was at the place where I very much needed emotional support animals, and I've done the work to heal the root of that. And so now it feels like you then have to pay more because you did the healing work. And it's like, no, I am rewarding myself by allowing myself to receive this support because I've done the healing work. So anyway, that's a side tangent, but I just think pet rent is the biggest scam. And I was like, I refuse to pay it. So the fact that that happened so easily, and I was like, and then I was like, okay, well, this is really going to be the true test. Are they going to accept my application? Keep in mind, the application was $445. So the second day that I went to Newport, which was a Wednesday, I am touring all these places. I sit down, I go to the ocean, I sit at this lookout point, and I was like, okay, God, you have screamed at me enough. I feel grounded, I feel clear. I had asked my friend again if she could just reflect back that I was feeling grounded, but she had a busy day at work, so she didn't get back to me until later that night because, again, the universe wanted me to trust myself. The universe didn't want me to ask anyone. And I didn't. The universe literally just wanted me to trust myself. And for those that know, I've struggled with emotion dysregulation my whole life. I've struggled with undiagnosed BPD symptoms my entire life, severe, severe abandonment wound, severe anxious attachment, borderline personality disorder symptoms. All that means is that you have anxious attachment here, which is fear of abandonment, and then you have BPD symptoms, which is deeper fear of abandonment. It's like the deepest form of abandonment wound you can have. That's what I've had. And so because I've been so emotionally dysregulated because of my abandonment wound, I have not felt safe to trust myself my entire life because I've been so deeply invalidated my entire life that I never actually developed the ability to trust myself. And so this was like, if you guys remember last year before my retreat, me talking about how I had this BPD episode the morning of my retreat, and then I had to release control to then show up and lead a retreat, and that healed a layer of my BPD. 2024, I thought I had fully healed my BPD, fully, like not coming back. Talk about attachment, right? Oh, these symptoms are never coming back. Oh, I thought I healed that. It's coming back. That's attachment. This work is not about never having symptoms. This work is about decreasing the symptoms, healing the symptoms, yes, but understanding that you are safe to be with all emotions. So if symptoms come up, you then know how to move through it. Just like I was talking to my coach last night about how with OCD and you check the stove a million times, we were both saying like, oh, we both used to be like that so much, but now we'll still check it to be smart. But if we notice that we're getting into that obsessive, like checking it 5 times, we know what's happening and we know how to move through it. That's the difference. So with this dark night of the soul in 2024, because I literally perceived abandonment on all fronts, friendship, coaching, family, like romantic, like all fronts, my inner child perceived abandonment, even though I actually was not abandoned, like at all, because I'm an adult. And also I was doing a lot of abandoning, but again, we can't be abandoned as adults, but it can feel that way. My BPD symptoms came up to a whole other extent. And I was like, what the fuck? I thought I healed these. This is awful. And me being able to trust myself with both of these decisions was like the deepest layer of healing my BPD symptoms that I have ever experienced. So we have to understand that, like the onion analogy, things come up to be healed deeper. They come up again to be healed even deeper. So BPD coming up in the extreme that it did, because it was just severe fear of abandonment, because I was the most alone. I was the first time in my life that I was not enmeshed with someone, that I was not codependent with someone. It was me learning how to securely attach to myself and connect home to myself and have little me attached to myself. The more heightened the symptoms, the more deep the healing. So those symptoms came up. And then on the other side of it was me being able to heal those symptoms on a whole other level. And so I was sitting by the ocean about to pay $445 that I really can't afford to be paying to apply for this apartment after having all these really hard lessons with money this year and having to be super intentional. Now, again, the attachment can come up in our brains as, well, if I'm supposed to be intentional with money, then it's not meant to be that I spend money on this application or spend money on movers or spend money on, I'm going to have to pay double rent. That's the only thing that did not flow like and make it really obvious, was that there's an overlap where I wasn't able to start my lease on October 1st, which is when this ends. I actually have to pay double rent for 3.5 or 2.5 weeks. And so I immediately was like, well, if the universe has been wanting me to be more intentional with money, why the fuck would I then spend double rent? And again, the attachment piece is not saying healing your money equals doing things in this perfectly logical order. Healing money is being able to discern between intentionality versus non-intentionality versus scarcity versus expansion, and understanding that the universe would not be asking me to pay double rent if this wasn't in alignment, and it is. And so again, if I'm desiring to heal my money relationship on a whole other level, the universe is giving me what I need, which is a lot of fear around money, to get to what I want, which is to actually build deeper trust and faith and surrender. So I'm at the ocean. I'm taking lots of deep breaths. And I'm like, I'm about to sign this lease without having talked to my mentor, without having talked to my friend, without having asked anyone. And I just am going to trust myself. And I submitted it. And on the drive home, I said, God, I know I've been asking for so many signs, but please, just one more sign. Immediately see a U-Haul truck, immediately see 999 again. And I was like, okay. And so I assumed I probably wouldn't get approved because of the money struggles this year, my credit has not been great. And so I was like, there's no way this fancy ass apartment complex is going to approve a low credit score. Next morning, I received the email. Hi, Rachel, application looks great. We're just waiting to get your ESA letter approved. Then they respond back and I said, okay, I'm going to wait to give notice until the ESA letter is approved because I'm not paying pet rent. So the other guy in the company messaged me and gave me a letter, like basically like I need to sign off on the ESA stuff. And I only see Luna listed on there, my cat Luna. And I was like, huh, I was like looking, I was like, this is the loophole. This is where it's not going to be in alignment. And I emailed her back and I was like, hey, I noticed Luna's on there, but the dogs aren't. Did they not get approved? And she was like, just checked your file. All 3 animals are approved. Like this, butter, easy, easeful, so easeful. The only thing about this that has not been easeful is the money part. And I believe that that is intentional. I believe that that is part of this divine orchestration because that is the area that I've been asking God to help me grow in. And so I need to have deeper levels of trust. 2024 took me to a certain level of trust because then I got to the other side of that lesson and the abundance came in and I was like, okay, I'm safe, I'm supported. This is next level of, oh, now that I've landed in that safety, time to not feel safe around it again and come back to safety and show myself that I'm able to trust in that. So I signed the lease, I gave notice. They do require 30 days. They are going to charge me, that's part of the double rent. And again, my mind wants to be like, well, if it was meant to be, it would have just all magically flowed with the dates and blah, blah, blah. But I can't argue anymore with the universe. And I don't want to because I'm excited for what this is going to bring. I think that I am needed in Newport. It would not be a place that I would have chosen. I'm a little scared because it's a lot of just culturally stuff that is not really in alignment, but it is also a beautiful place. It is an abundant place. It is a place that needs to experience grounded abundance rather than a place that experiences addicted abundance from a addicted to money in an ungrounded kind of way. So I'm excited. I think I'm going to meet my husband and I think I'm going to have some important business adventures in Newport. And I'm thinking that I might be doing some in-person stuff as well. So those are my big updates. Thank you guys for going on that long, wild ride of a story. I knew this was going to be a long one. And the reason why I waited to share was because I was convinced I was crazy. And I share that because I think that we can pedestal and idealize and disconnect ourselves from people by thinking that people have it all together. Like, oh, I do this work professionally. So like, oh, it's like, no, I'm fucking human. I have moments where I think I'm crazy, but then it's actually just my intuition, or that I'm actually doing dumb shit, but I'm convincing myself I'm not, right? So I share this because my biggest desire was self-trust. And the fact that I could make these decisions on my own and then have I was going to call her my colleague, my friend, my healing co-sister, I like can't talk today. I'm so tired. She then responded the next day and was like, you sound really grounded. And this was after I signed the lease and I was waiting to get approved. So that made me tear up because I was like, fuck, like she's a really good mirror. Like she was trained by my mentor. She's her co-coach. Like she knows. And then finally, my coach and I were DMing while she was still in Hawaii. And I was like, don't bring this up, Rachel. Don't bring this up. She's on vacation. She's not working. Have boundaries. You are going to honor her time. So I didn't bring it up. And then we were talking about other stuff because she was referring me a client. We were talking about other stuff and other stuff and other stuff. And I was like, fuck, man, I'm going to bring it up. So I literally was just like, hey, I wasn't going to say anything because I don't want to make you work on vacation, but like we keep DMing and it's really hard not to tell you. And I'm very, very close to my mentor. So like to have signed a whole lease, to have released a whole part of my business and not be able to share this with her was like really fucking hard. And she knew that I had had the conversation around Real Men Heal in the Slack group and she had, congratulated and just said how powerful it was. But, it was just different. We didn't get one-on-one time to talk about it. So she was like, "Oh yeah, I know you're moving." Like she already knew. And then because her co-coach had told her, and I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Yeah, she just wanted to make sure she was a good mirror." So she told me, and I was like, "Okay, I'm so grateful for that because I'm glad that she was a good mirror because I was, trusting her to be the fill-in mirror." And she celebrated it with me, and she was like, at first I had to look at, is this Rachel just creating chaos? Because sometimes I do that because my nervous system is used to chaos. And I said, trust me, I was convinced that I was creating chaos. I was convinced that you would just tell me I was doing dumb shit. And she was like, but it landed in my body, as Rachel has always been so intuitive, especially around when to move, that it just landed very calm in my body. And I told her, I was like, yeah, my dad's convinced that I'm going to meet my person. And she was like, I immediately felt that. And she was like, you're meeting your person in Newport. So it's all very exciting. Apparently, the universe thinks I've done enough time on my own that I could potentially be ready for my person, which feels weird because I've been so on my own for so many years now. But it's exciting. It's exciting that I've reached this level of self-trust because that's all I've ever wanted. And the journey to that is allowing yourself to be really messy. The journey to self-trust is allowing yourself to be so messy where sometimes you feel crazy, where sometimes maybe you are being crazy. Sometimes you do act from impulsivity. It's allowing all of that messiness to come out, because to get to this place where I now can so feel the difference in my body of what it feels like to be ungrounded versus what it feels like to be able to trust myself. Oh, like it's making me emotional because it's like that's all I've ever wanted. Like all I've ever wanted was to be able to feel the difference. And when you have trauma, you can't feel the difference sometimes. It literally feels like, wait, I thought I did trust myself, or wait, I thought that was clear. And it's like, it's not clear until it's clear. And so I just want you guys to hear that, like, if you're in that position where it just feels blurry and it feels scary because of how blurry it is, like, that means you're on the right path. Like that is part of the process. That is the path through, is allowing yourself to be messy, is allowing yourself to be so radically honest when you are in that trauma response, when you are making decisions from impulsivity, and like owning that, because that the shame that you feel around that makes you want to lie about that to yourself of like, no, I'm grounded, blah blah blah, and you actually feel terrified. That lying to yourself is going to continue what you don't want, which is that blurry feeling. I know that blurry feeling more intimately than many people because of how severe my trauma has been. And it is the worst feeling in the world when you can't trust yourself. You feel scared, you feel embarrassed, you feel shame, you feel like you always have to outsource your power and your safety. And like the fact that I could just like fully feel this level of safety and clarity in my body, and I haven't felt that in that way before, like, and doing it fully on my own, it was like, it was just everything. Like there's like no words, 0% words to describe how that feels. It's like I just want that for everyone, like literally every single person, because when you have that foundation of self-trust and self-connection and safety in your body, it's like you just get to expand. You literally just get to like feel your intuition and then move. Feel the intuition and move. Feel the intuition and move without having to overthink it or ask a million people. Like, do you guys remember the version of me where I would literally have to ask? I would go shopping. I'm not even exaggerating. I would go shopping and I was frozen in front of the cashier. I could not make decisions. Like, I couldn't make a decision. Do I get this shirt or both? And that's where my money relationship got tied into that, because I would use money for external saving. I would just spend the money rather than making the decision. Oh, I'm just going to get both. I would do this in restaurants. I can't decide between the salad and the sandwich. And I know this sounds so trivial, but it's not about the salad or the sandwich. It's about trusting yourself. And again, it's so funny because when we really think about it, it's like, well, what worst case scenario, you get the salad, you're still alive, but that's not how the nervous system works. The nervous system literally is like, well, if you get the salad, then what if you were supposed to get the sandwich? And what if, it's like, that's how trivial these things can be, but that's how deep our trauma goes. And so it started with me practicing, just making decisions and showing myself it doesn't fucking matter if you get the salad or the sandwich, just fucking order something. Or starting with the decisions of shopping of, I'm not going to get all of it because I can't afford all of it. And so I'm going to trust that I'm safe to just be present and not always wonder, well, what if I got this? Or what if I ordered this? Or would it have been better if I'd done that? Or would I look better in this color instead of this? I just made a decision and I focused on being present with that decision. That is rewiring your nervous system, is going through the trivial things that you're going to feel so much shame about. You're going to feel so much shame that you are frozen as a grown-ass adult in a store having to make these decisions. But when you understand that that is a terrified younger part of you, it's like making me so emotional, because it's like when you see it clearly, you see that it's just a little child. If a little child were being asked to make small decisions, medium level decisions, big decisions, they don't know how to trust themselves. They're a child. They don't know what they're supposed to be eating to stay healthy and nourish their body. They don't know that. I was never taught how to nourish my body. I was never taught how to spend money intentionally. I was never taught, and none of us were. Like, this is the whole point of reparenting our inner child. This is why I have created my program Authenticity Unleashed, because 99.9% of the decisions that we've made in life, and I know this may sound so terrifying, and so I'm just here to take a breath with you on that, have been from trauma. And it's so fucking painful to really see that. Like, oh, that person that I dated and spent years of my life with, that wasn't actually based on love. That was based on attachment. Maybe I had a connection with them, but then the connection ran its course and I just kept attaching on. That job wasn't actually in alignment. That job was meant to teach me things and I was meant to let it go. How often do we stay in things after we've already learned the lessons? Because it feels safer, to attach on. And this is what Authenticity Unleashed is all about. It's about recognizing the ways that you've been operating from this terrified younger part of you who has not actually learned to feel safe, to trust their authenticity. My authentic self is the version that makes these levels of decisions without asking a million people. Like, my authentic self is someone who doesn't need to order and hoard food because I need to like, I really think a lot of that was trauma around money, but also trauma around not trusting myself. I think it was also trauma around when I was sick and there was a point where I had the 108 fever and I was unconscious and my food was going through a catheter. I really think that my body, like, I think on a survival mode, we all have that of like, we want to make sure we have enough food, but I would have this like hoarding thing where I would spend so much money that I didn't have to make sure I had like, okay, I'm going to get this option and this option. It's like this survival mode that would show up in so many different ways. And it's such a different way of living when you get out of survival mode. And like, I'm not saying that now I'm like done with the healing. No, the growth never stops. But yes, the healing just reaches deeper and deeper layers. And now it's like, now that you have this internal safety, you're just practicing it on deeper levels. So yes, now I can trust myself in signing a lease. Can I trust myself when I actually do meet my person, that I'm safe, that I can trust that this is actually based off of genuine, authentic connection? Can I trust, different business decisions that I'm like, it's just going to be deeper and bigger levels of self-trust. Can I trust myself to invest this amount of money in an intentional way because of my trauma of investing it in a non-intentional way? Like when you get to this place of healing, internal safety, embodiment, it's then just deeper and deeper layers of it. And that's the growth. So it's not that we're actively processing the same wound. I know where my lack of self-trust comes from. I processed that wound. This was a level of actually integrating the expansion piece of it, the tending to myself. And it was so wild to even notice how, yes, I had some overthinking, but it was so quick. It was like, oh, I know what this is. And then I came back. It was like, oh, I'm convincing myself I'm crazy. But then it was like, I could sit with it and not be impulsive. And yeah, that cost me some money to sit with it. But at the same time, I wasn't ready to give my notice before I even got approved. What if they didn't approve me and then I give my notice? That would have been impulsive. So my ability to say, like, it doesn't have to be a choice between, being impulsive to save money and not being impulsive, knowing that might cost me a little bit. It's like, it's just all allowing it to build off of each other. And so if you're in this boat where you're like, all I want to do is to be able to trust myself, all I want to be able to do is trust God and the universe and release control, because we can't release control if we don't feel that someone else is going to have our back if we fucking fall on our faces. And that someone else is God and the universe and the angels, like whatever you believe in. And so this was such a powerful experience of me taking some space to fully be in my own energy and literally just use God as my mirror, my only mirror. Like, yes, I had my friend mirror, but in those moments where I actually had to make the decisions, it was me and God sitting on that beach, watching the sunset, me playing the theme song of the OC in my head, watching the sunset, submitting that $445, knowing that I didn't even know that I would get approved and maybe I would lose that money. And I'm really not in a place to lose money right now. And just fucking taking the leap. And there were these little expander signs where, like, I saw this guy. And for those that know, I'm very attracted to tall Black men. There was this tall Black man, and he wasn't my person, but there were just these little glimmers that I was like, God has got my back and I'm safe. And so if you're in that position, it's not about shaming yourself when you can't trust yourself. It's about accepting that there will be times where you can't trust yourself and you will need that mirror. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you get to the place of actually being able to trust yourself, and not in this superficial way of like, I trust myself and I love myself, but like in this embodied way of, oh, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to trust myself. This is what it feels like to be running away from myself. When I was downloading Hinge the other week, I was fucking like restless. Like I was laying in bed and I was reaching for the phone. I was laying in bed. I was reaching for something outside of myself. With this, I got so fucking still every damn day. And every time I got still, the voice just said, you're moving, you're moving, you're moving. And I was like, you're crazy. And I was like, nope, you're moving. And so to feel that difference and then to have my mentor validate that and was like, no, you sound really grounded. And I think this is going to be really in alignment. It was just one giant full circle of like, fuck, that was one of the hardest things to get to, like learning how to build that self-trust in a deep embodied way, not on a superficial way, was literally one of the most wild rides of my life, but it was so worth it because this just gives me the foundation for so much expansion and to just feel how I want to feel in my body, which is literally the whole point of all of this. So anyway, this is so long. We probably should wrap up. Let me just catch up on some of the comments. I love that area. There are a lot of great surrounding areas too. Yeah, this is so exciting. It is. Thank you for celebrating. I love you, Rachel. Thank you for sharing and for all you do in this world. Virtual hug. Thank you. I love you too. feeling all of this. You really are such an inspiration. You need to know that. Oh, thank you. This resonates. I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's resonating. Yeah, this is why I share all of this because, again, I think we look at people on here and we're like, oh, they just have it all together. Oh, money's just flying out of their assholes. Or, oh, they just found the romantic love. And it's like, let's just fucking be real with each other. Like that's what I want. I can immediately, when I go on this app, I can immediately feel if I connect with someone, if I can feel their humanness. If all I see are aesthetic, there's nothing wrong with aesthetic, but if all I can see is like a facade and I'm like, I don't know how that person relates to their emotions. I can't feel their heart. I don't know what they're going through right now. I don't know their messiness. I don't know their shame. It's like, I don't know them. And so I don't connect with them. And so that's, that's why I come on here and share the way I do is like, I want you to know that what you are experiencing is normal in the sense that there's nothing wrong with you, but I want you to know that you don't have to normalize it as your norm. You get to shift it. And a big part of that is accepting that we do need that mirror until we can learn how to use God as our mirror, until we learn to feel safe to use ourselves as our mirror. We need that mirror. That's literally how I got to this place of self-trust, is because I've invested for 3 fucking years when I couldn't do it, when I thought it was crazy to. I have invested in my healing, in having a mirror for 3 years because all I have wanted was to be able to trust myself on this level and to feel safe and grounded while doing so. You guys know I've moved cross country. I've done crazy shit. I am the queen of making big, bold decisions, but none of that is actually enjoyable if you're fucking attaching on to people, running away from yourself, and you're not feeling safe to do it. This move, although there's a lot happening, it's been easeful. It's been like being able to just tend to the fear and then come back to safety. Like it hasn't taken me out. It hasn't dysregulated me. And that's what I want for all of us, because imagine if you actually felt safe to make the big, bold decisions, what your life would look like, rather than, oh, I'm just going to stay in this relationship because I think I should, or, oh, I'm just going to stay in this house because I think I should. It's like, there's nothing wrong with my home. I love my home, but the universe wants me to grow and experience something different. And so I'm trusting that. And it's releasing my timelining, releasing my control, because I know that this next chapter is going to be a whole other level of growth because I'm now ready for that. But to get ready for that, you have to be fucking messy, 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 like so fucking messy, where you are literally like, you feel like your whole body is falling apart because you're in such deep fear. You feel like the shame is literally going to kill you, that you want to hide from the world. That is the depths of pain, the depths of shame, the depths of sadness, the depths of all of the things, the anger that you have to allow yourself to experience, to fall apart, to then not put yourself back together, but come together in a whole, integrated, authentic way. This is all about you feeling safe to be the youiest you that there is. We don't need another one of that person or that person. Like, we need you, and you looks like messiness because you are human. So you have to allow yourself to fucking feel it all. There have been so many times where I've had to sit with myself in the deepest depths of pain and shame, where I literally did not want to live. And I knew I was going to live. I've never actively been suicidal, but I was like, damn, now I can kind of understand why people are. This shit is fucking hard. This shit is hard. Feeling your feelings is hard when your nervous system has been wired to avoid them. We have to show the nervous system a new way, which means you feel the depths of your pain and your shame. You stop running from yourself. And when you do, you learn and you show your nervous system, look, we just felt that and we didn't die. Look, we just felt like we were going to be judged and abandoned, and maybe we were judged, but we're still alive. Like whatever the worst case scenario is in your head. Like there have been times where I felt such deep shame that I was like, that's it. I'm just going to quit my group. I'm just going to not show up. I'm going to hide. Like I literally just wanted to hide in a hole. And I had to learn to love those parts. The parts that feel hardest to love are the parts that need the love the most. The parts that are hardest to love are the parts that need love the most. I'm going to say it one more time because it's so important. The parts that are hardest to love are those parts that need the love the most. And that's why it's intentional. It's putting effort into, okay, I don't love this behavior, but what's the root of the behavior? Can I love this younger part of me that did that behavior because she felt so fucking terrified? And when you can learn to hold that part of yourself, you can shift the behavior. But when you're shaming yourself, which is not feeling shame, it's an avoidance of shame. When you're shaming and berating yourself, that actually doesn't shift shit. When you feel your shame, that's quite different. You allow it to shift. So this was probably the longest Morning Tea Live maybe we've ever had, but there's been so much that I needed to catch you guys up on, and it's almost 1:11 over here. So we're going to end on 1:11 to continue with the theme of the angel numbers. But I love you guys so much. Thank you for being on this wild ride with me. I hope this was helpful. I share these things intimately and personally because my intention is for it to be helpful and for it to be a mirror for you of where you are not trusting yourself, where you are not allowing yourself to be the messy and perfect human that you are, to get to the place of self-trust. We want the thing so badly, but we're not willing to go through the process of what it takes to build it in an embodied way. And that is what I'm here to remind you and encourage you of. You are safe to be in the messy journey of it. And if you are needing a mirror, Authenticity Unleashed is starting the 24th. I'm going to be recording module 1 on the 24th, where we will dive deep into intuition versus trauma. I was literally meant to experience all that I have these past few weeks because I meant to teach this on a whole other level. So if you want to trust yourself, Authenticity Unleashed is the perfect starting place. It's a short and sweet 6-week program. You can add on 6 live coaching calls with me in a group container. We have just one sales spot left for $777 before it goes up to $999. Or you can join just the course live in a private Facebook group for $222 on sale, like lowest that this will ever be. I would say if you're new to this work and you want to just get a feel for what this is, how we rewire the nervous system, how to meet your authentic self, tier 1 would be perfect. If you are ready to not only learn, but actually start processing the stored pain and rewiring, then adding on those 6 live coaching calls with me are going to be absolutely life-changing. So again, the more that I heal these things, the cleaner and clearer mirror that I can be for you. And I mean, just ask my clients. One of my clients on here is about to fucking purchase her dream car, which she is feeling delulu about. And I keep telling her, listen, this is your next step. Like when we feel safe, we get to just lean into magic. We get to experience magic. It doesn't then just have to be about surviving. Like, what a concept. So fucking cool. Anyway, we missed 111, but 113, that's my birthday. So we're going to end on there. Mwah. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. If you want to join Authenticity Unleashed, DM me for the link. I will send it to you. Or if you want to talk anything through, if you have any questions, I would love to have you. It's going to be literally life-changing. We already have 7 of you in there, and it's just the best group. So come join us. It'll be amazing. Mwah. Love you guys so, so much. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you on the next episode.